you can see our crowd we have here, so. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's Town of Amherst Traffic Safety Board meeting. Today is September 3rd, 2025. Our first order of business this evening is just the introduction of those in attendance. I'm Eric Farage, Chairman.
Cynthia Selden, Vice Chairman.
Max McCon, member.
Patricia Dunn, member.
Dan Ryder, member.
Kevin Cantwell, board member.
Nick Galterio, member.
Bill Pranahu, the building department. Scott.
Chris Schreigel, engineering liaison, traffic safety coordinator.
Thank you. Oh, we have one more joining us. We have Kara, right? Yes. Oh, I'm getting better. All right. And we also have Kara in attendance this evening as well as a member. So our first order of business this evening, our second order of business this evening, we don't have anybody in attendance, so we don't have to go over that rule of if you need to leave, is a review of the minutes from the August 6th meeting. Is there any comments, changes, or corrections to be made?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 3. Page 2, item number 3. Was it the second line? I think we need to of in there, the entire width of Amherst from east to west. And then there's one more.
Okay.
A little further along, top of page 3. Right after where it says 1171 in both directions, it's 1171 vehicles. I think I'm missing a word in there too.
Well, it says before that with a total daily vehicle volume of,
Mm,
so you could just say,
how about we do it this way? How about a daily volume of, how about a daily volume of 1171 vehicles? How does that sound?
okay.
Okay.
Any other corrections, changes, or comments? None being heard, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Kevin. Any further conversations? None being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we got 4 tonight. That would be carry 9-0. See, Scott, John, Chris, you just need a short agenda to get everybody to show up. All right. Yes.
Chairman, do we know if the person who walked in is part of an item?
Are you here for any agenda item this evening? Yes, you.
Oh, that's Greg.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was confused. I thought that was Greg out there.
Yeah.
And you said that. I'm like, oh, maybe it's not Greg. All righty.
Board member Emeritus.
All right. Since we have nobody in attendance this evening and nobody signed in, we will go through the agenda in the order it was on the paper, and we don't have to go through any other comments or sections. So first order of business, Chris, Fawn Meadow Court, request to lower speed limit or install traffic calming devices.
Thank you, Chairman. Location Fawn Meadows. The request is to lower speed and install traffic calming. The resident reasoning is in reference to high speeds in the neighborhood, as well as safety concern to those children and pedestrians living within that neighborhood. Fawn Meadows is located off Hopkins Road in between Millersport and North French. It is a no outlet subdivision. Indicated on your screen is 19 Fawn Meadows. Where that pin is essentially where we put the traffic counter that we'll go over later. It is a Town of Amherst public road. It is signed at 30 miles per hour. It's no outlet. It's residential with 18 homes. It is 26 feet wide with upright curbs. Parking is currently allowed on all sides. It is fully sidewalked, and there is 0 crash history in the last 5 years. We did place a counter, and those results are in your package. total volume for the entire day is 215. Oddly enough, it does spike around 6 o'clock. So either they're coming or going, combination of both, but it is fairly spread out during the day. There's no large AM spike. Again, very low volume. In terms of speeds collected, in the eastbound, that's towards Hopkins, a 85th percentile speed of 24 miles per hour was collected. Westbound is 22 miles per hour. And the only traffic control I know of is the stop sign at Fawn Meadows and Hopkins. That concludes the presentation portion.
Thank you. Open it up to the board for discussion. Comments?
Volume is low.
I would say that I think majority of people in the town of Amherst would be extremely pleased if this was their street based on what we ordinarily see. When we have a request to review traffic counts are low. Speeds are actually only one car over 30 miles per hour. We don't have a cut-through traffic concern here with the cul-de-sac street. I would say that this would,
No accidents?
no accident history, this would not be an item to be considered for traffic calming measures since it is already pretty calm.
We do collect and keep track of all the speeds on whatever we've counted, and this ties is the lowest in the town of Amherst over the last 20 years at 22 miles per hour.
So this is the lowest you're
The
saying?
low, I don't recall.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes, so with that, I would move to receive and file the request.
I second that.
Second from Cindy, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried 9-0.
Parking on both sides.
Next item on the agenda is item number 2, Cottonwood Drive, request for a pedestrian crossing beacon on Klein Road.
Okay, again, the location is Cottonwood at West Klein Road. The request is for a pedestrian crossing device to cross over West Klein Road. The reason provided is to enhance safety of pedestrians that are currently crossing, particularly children. I think there was mention in the email that they're mostly traveling to the east to Bassett or some other mercantile in the area. This is the location. Again, Cottonwood and West Klein. It is a four-way intersection. Stop signs currently on Cottonwood on the north and south legs. West Klein is a speed limit of 35 miles per hour. Everything is locally owned, public roads for Cottonwood as well as West Klein. Here's an aerial indicating that yes, there are crosswalks already painted on the east and south leg. This is not an enhanced crosswalk. This is just a type L with the two lines and not the ladder. And like I said, it's town of Amherst. Speed limit is 35 on West Klein. Parking is prohibited on the entire length of West Klein on both sides in that section. There are sidewalks at all corners, and like I mentioned, there's already striping on the east and south legs. There is no crash data for the last 3 years at this intersection.
Where exactly do they want to put it?
Sorry?
Where do they want to put it?
I'll get to it. So for some of the newer members, what is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, otherwise known as an RRFB? It's essentially a device that assists pedestrians. It's a push button actuated device, and these light bars underneath the sign rapidly flash to indicate crossing. Motorists are supposed to recognize that, and then per state law, stop to crossing pedestrians. Here's another picture of it. You can place it at intersections. Normally they are truly mid-block and not at intersections, but you can, it is allowed to do it at an intersection. So when considering this, there is a criteria as established by DOT. I'm not going to read these, rather I'm going to go through one by one. Criteria 1, is it marked? Yes. Criteria 2, is it in a school zone? No. 3, does it have the current volume of vehicular travel on the major leg? In this case, yes, it's well over the minimum 1,500 at 12,000 vehicles per day, as counted in 2019. Is it in an urban area? Yes. We did not count pedestrian volume. You will need 20 pedestrians per hour, or 18 in 2 hours, 15 in 3 hours, or 10 school-age pedestrians traveling to and from school in 1 hour. There is some bump ups, kids are counted twice, as well as elderly or disabled persons. Sorry, people with disabilities. My correction. Criteria 6 is stopping distance. We're very clear. It's a long distance on Klein that you can see. There isn't a near a crossing already established within 300 feet. Posted speed limit is 35 or less. I put an asterisk on this one because the 85th percentile is 40 to 41 as counted in 19, but they do specifically say that it's posted. Number of lanes, they have a max of 4 to 5. And in terms of crash history, we've had 2 crashes here, unrelated to pedestrian crossings. We also turn to the FHWA manual or guide for protective measures for uncontrolled crosswalks, where we line up. This is a 2-lane highway with a range of average daily traffic of 9,000 to 15,000. And this kind of gives you criteria of what you should be considering. The number 1 is a bold circle. That means it signifies that countermeasures should always be considered. It does not qualify that it should always be deployed. And that is essentially make it a high visibility crosswalk, place parking restrictions, lighting levels, and signage. So here's a diagram of that. Again, a warning sign, type LS, parking restriction, and a light. Here's what we have already on Klein and Cottonwood. This sign is outdated. They no longer in the new manual allow for this sign with the crosswalk stripes. They've omitted those lines, and it does not have a directional arrow. So at the bare minimum, I would recommend you get a sign upgrade here. We'll go back to Kevin's question, where they would like this is essentially the RRFB would accompany this existing crosswalk. That concludes the presentation portion.
Thank you, Chris. With that, we will open it up to Amanda Morton for public comment. If you want to speak, you can come up to the microphone.
Good evening. The reason I had decided to submit a request for this was I actually live on Cottonwood. I guess would be south of Klein. I do see a lot of not just foot traffic. I see a lot of people walking dogs. I see kids riding bikes. A lot of people access Clearfield Community Center from Klein, and I see a lot of kids that cross there as well. So I was hoping to try and just, especially, I think it's the worst, at when the kids are getting released from school and parents are trying to pick up kids. I know a lot of people cut down Cottonwood over to Plaza Drive to get to, Hopkins sometimes rather than waiting at the light at Hopkins and Klein. So I feel like there's a lot of backup in traffic too that can pose as a problem as well. So I kind of thought it would be nice to have something there. I mean, my son personally has to cross that road. He's 12 years old. I feel a little more comfortable now that he's a little bit older, but I do know that a lot of kids access it, especially in the summer, to go to Clearfield, and also, you know, when school's being dismissed. Like I said, the traffic, well, the mornings too, the traffic's pretty heavy. So I know that that sign is there. I do feel like people really speed quite a bit on Klein. And I do see that the traffic does really get backed up from the light near Hopkins and Klein. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and see if there was a possibility we could get something there to make it a little more safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Just ask if there's anyone else in the audience to speak this evening on this item. None being heard or seen, we'll close the public comment period and open it up to the board for discussion.
I'll
So-
go. Oh, well, you want to go first?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Chris, from the meeting last month, we actually talked, I'm not sure if it was in the minutes or if it was one of the other questions that we had talked about, the study being done by the town on the corridor on Klein Road.
Yes.
Would this be within that area? Because I know we were looking at the Dashes parking lot. What was it, Birchwood?
Yes, so peripherally, yes, it's not directly looking at this intersection. So as the chairman said, the town board authorized a Klein Road study to look at targeted areas, one of which is the Dashes entrance here, another is Hopkins and West Klein. So the residents spoke of backups occurring at this intersection. We are hoping to alleviate that with, you know, sufficient study and, you know, retiming plans at the bare minimum, maybe even improvements in this area. And then again, where my cursor is the subject intersection, but to the west, we are studying the, I believe it's Birchwood.
Yeah, it's Birchwood.
Yeah, thank you. Birchwood Klein intersection. This always comes up. If you look at it, you know, it's more of the spine of this whole neighborhood. We will be looking at a potential, you know, all-way stop warrant analysis. Should that be, you know, recommended, the town would have to make a decision on if we want to follow through with that. But if that does happen, you know, it will provide an opportunity for a safe, controlled crossing instead of a, you know, an uncontrolled, enhanced crossing that the resident is requesting further to the east. So that is underway. Just a side note, to give you more status update, the consultant, the transportation engineer waited until September to do traffic counts. So that should start, you know, in the next 2 weeks. So we don't have definitive answers right now because we wanted to make sure school was in session when we did the study.
Okay. Max, you had,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, how many times do we see people ask for rapid flashing beacons and it's nowhere close to the metrics that are needed to hit? I mean, this hits almost all of them. I understand that this would change it, but I mean, I don't have a problem with it. At the very least, I think we should paint all 4 of the crossings, you know, instead of just the L, just, you know, make it complete on both remaining, the north end and the west.
So you're saying put in a
Yeah.
crosswalk on the north, and are you recommending the type LS, like the full?
I don't know if that's, I think it depends on whether or not we put in the beacon. I mean, if we do, then I think that's probably enough. I'm okay with just leaving it as normal, normal crosswalks, but
yeah, I'm not sure we,
I think,
I guess I'm not sure we need to enhance to have 2 crosswalks through Klein Road. Would be
okay.
that,
Not without some sort.
yeah.
Correct.
I think I'm,
It's just,
I would actually move that we should enhance the visibility of that crosswalk. When you go to that aerial view or you go to the street view, Chris, you can see that the painting on that, I believe, is That street has not been repainted, so it's
It's pretty stale.
pretty stale, not the most visible. So if it could be enhanced painting of that to make that stand out a little bit, we should request highway to update the crosswalk with the new appropriate signage and the arrow.
Right, I was gonna say that.
I also don't think there's any advance signage to the crosswalk, but I don't think you would, without the RRFB, you wouldn't have an advanced sign, would you?
Enhanced sidewalks on the south side probably make more sense than the RFP. Allow people to walk the dashes
Yeah.
without having to cross the line and not.
Yeah, that's that section of Klein that's got no sidewalks we hear about.
Right, so I guess where I'm with this right now is I would be with the study that's currently going on, and if part of the people walking are crossing the street in that area to get to dashes, if there's enhancements done at the dashes driveway, that may solve the problem and create a safer crossing for people in there, since the sidewalks are already on that side of the street and that's where they're going. They would be able to walk up that side of the street and then cross at the potentially controlled intersection into the dashes parking lot. So before making any major changes here, I think it's probably better to wait until the study is done for any enhancements in that corridor from the study currently being done, since this is in the middle of it. But I think we can take some other.
How,
now. Hold on one second.
how would that address the concerns about walkability to the community center?
The community center is also up the street behind the dashes parking lot. So it's possible as you go up the street, you would be creating, you don't have a sidewalk on the south side of the street. So if people are coming from the northern neighborhood to get to the community center and that's where they're crossing, they actually have a safe safe walkway on the north side of the street that potentially gives them better access to cross there to get to the community center currently. Right, you could end up with a controlled intersection for the dashes driveway or other enhancements at that intersection because of the crash history that is part of why that driveway is being studied.
Would there be any, maybe we should get a pedestrian count? That's the missing piece in the puzzle there.
I actually don't know how important that one is for it right now, because I think it meets enough metrics if we weren't going to wait for the study, and if we are going to wait for the study, that's going to have it in there anyway. Right?
Yes, I would think so. But I think we can make enhancements
Yeah,
to the
yeah, that's
intersection
totally
in
fair.
its current state with the high visibility crosswalk and improved signage of the crosswalk, which would be the first preventative measure, according to what Chris shared, to enhance the sidewalk, to enhance the crosswalk before the installation of the RRFB.
Sorry, I've never done this before. One of my concerns as you're talking about putting it at dashes is I would be worried about the traffic being backed up even more because it's so close to that intersection of Hopkins and Klein. I also know that there's a lot of foot traffic where people pass on Cottonwood. Like, we get bikers, we get a lot of walkers, a lot of dogs, we get a lot of families on bikes. So I feel like for some reason right there at the Hopkins or the Klein and Cottonwood intersection, that's where people tend to cross. So as you're talking about putting the beacon at dashes, I would be concerned about the traffic
So
being
we're-
even more backed up.
No, just to clarify, it wouldn't necessarily be a beacon.
Oh,
at the
okay.
Dashes parking lot. That intersection of the Dashes parking lot is being studied as part of the corridor study for
Oh, okay.
enhancements at that driveway. It could include crosswalks, it could include a traffic signal, it could
Okay.
include a number of items that are there. That's what we don't know.
Okay.
Um,
RFB and Cottonwood, tell them to put sidewalks on the south side.
That would be great too.
Yep, and then the other part of it is the other intersection on the other side of you at Birchwood has the potential of also becoming a controlled intersection.
Oh, got it.
So if you
Okay.
make those changes in those two spots, if we count the pedestrians today at your intersection and then those two changes are made in that corridor, that would completely change the pedestrian count potentially at this intersection. So
Okay.
before taking action on this intersection, when two neighboring intersections are being studied,
Mhm.
I would recommend that we wait for those studies to be completed first and the recommendations of those intersections before taking any action at this intersection.
Okay, thank you.
With that said, there are some tweaks to that current intersection, ma'am. You know, we can clean that up with signage and striping.
Yep, so that's what we're looking to do as part of this, is making a recommendation, which I'll make now. I'll make a motion to refer this to highway for the installation of high visibility crosswalks, repainting, and changing of the signage to the current standards for the crosswalk area.
When is the study due?
So hold on a second, made that motion, so just need
A second,
so there's a second from Kara for the motion that I just made, so now we can have additional conversation regarding the motion of painting the enhanced crosswalks and increased visibility signage to the correct signage for the crosswalk per current standards. Is there any conversation on those two issues?
Yes. When do we know when the study will be available?
According to Chris, they're
Uh,
studying it now, so it should be
yes.
within the next.
So they're shooting for the end of November. Realistically, I could see this going into December.
Okay.
Because, and involved in this is is school time counts, that's why they waited till September, you said?
Yes, so they're counting during school.
So this is the time to count when there's kids walking.
And
What
can
school
we
is there?
include in the motion a follow-up to see what the study results are, to see if there's,
So we are definitely going to bring those results to this board.
okay.
Yeah. I think I may even have the consultant present to this board as well.
What school is nearby?
Actually, there isn't a school.
It's the community center mostly that gets the
Community
kid
center should
traffic.
be- Has after,
Is it the community center that gets them the kids walking back and forth? The pool, yeah, that makes sense.
you also have the library over there, and you also have, is there two Jewish synagogues over in that area that we've constantly talked about as well? There's one across that we just talked in site plans last week. There's that one there, and there's one to the north as well, isn't there?
That's one right.
And there's one there.
See, I bet the pedestrian traffic would be huge on a Saturday morning.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So on the motion that was put before us, any further conversation? All in favor?
I
aye.
Aye. Opposed? So that's carried 9-0 to refer to highway for those improvements. Any other conversations on this agenda item? None being heard, so that's where this will stand now. Refer for highway to make painting improvements and signage improvements if they can. Not sure if that's something that they would have in their budget for this year, or if they could get it done before the weather end of the season. So it could be something held for the spring or as part of the whole study. And we'll get those. There'll be a presentation, as Chris said. At some point, if you want to keep in touch with Chris, feel free. And he'll be able to tell you when that study is done and when they'll be presenting it to this board. Okay, thank you. With that, we have no other new business to bring before the board, so we'll open it up to the board members to see if there are any other items that you would like to bring up. Any other new items you'd like to discuss? None being heard, we'll close the new business section. We'll move to old business. Item A is still held pending pedestrian counts for North Forest near the Auden Apartments, Maple Road, Old Lime, Maple West Elementary. That is still pending because we were waiting for school, so that will hopefully be.
Yeah, we were potentially looking at this. We heard from the area residents that Saturday is the most busy during schools, when school's in season. The person is looking at the weather right now for this Saturday. It's not looking great, so we may postpone that for a nice sunny Saturday.
So that's for A, correct?
It's A.
That's A. Okay. Item B, we're still pending the engineering study, and I think you were waiting for school to start there as well for some potential counts at Maple Road. So that will continue to be held.
Yeah, that's correct. Engineering is looking for funding sources to procure a traffic engineer on this one.
Okay. Item C, Colladine Avenue, there was information that was sent to the residents, so we are held waiting for that input to be returned to us.
Yep, inside your package is that letter that went out. I don't remember the date, but it's Friday, 18th rings a bell. When they're supposed to get back, the responses are trickling in. We are tabulating them, and we will provide the results in the October meeting.
Okay. That is the conclusion of our old business on the agenda. Any other old business that anybody on the board would like to bring up or discuss? With that, we will close the old business. We will thank our liaisons for their attendance this evening, except for Scott and Chris. And we will move to the site plans. We will continue to utilize Scott and Chris for those.